What up, y'all? It's your girl Nia Athena, and welcome back to my channel. We are still going strong with vlogmas. Yes, indeed. We are trying something a little different today. I actually been wanting to do this for a hot minute, so I'm really excited to get it started. If you hear a little crinkling in the background, that is my bad cat. I'm just gonna ignore her for now, because unless it gets too loud, then, you know, whatever. So today we are going to be reading some spooky stories, but Christmas edition, obviously, because it's December. And we're going to do probably like 3. Let's just get right into it. Cue the music. These are Reddit stories, by the way. All right, story number 1. I was about 16. It was Christmas Eve and snowing heavily. My parents and myself were sitting in the living room with the Christmas tree lights on, having eggnog and opening up my stocking gifts, as was our tradition. We suddenly heard the door knocker banging really loudly 3 times. We see no one out the window, but my dad opened up the door and looked down. There was a bloody black cat lying across the threshold across the snow. What was fucked up was there was no human footprints in the snow. No tire tracks, and logistically, there was nowhere and no way that we would have not seen anyone if they put the cat there. It was still alive, so we shut the door and left it there, and it was gone in the morning. Not, lol. My family and myself are huge animal lovers. Of course we took it in and made it comfortable. It was a young male that was not fixed and had been in a terrible fight. A few days later, we took it to the vet and he recovered nicely. The weird thing is, aside from the knocking and no footprints in the snow, was my mom gave it to a friend of ours and that lived down the street. About 4 or 5 months later, the cat, now happily part of the family, woke them all up by howling and screaming, just freaking the fuck out. Turns out an electrical fire has started in the garage and one of the cars was also on fire. They all woke up, everyone was okay, and the car didn't blow up. And only the garage was damaged, but they were very lucky in general, but especially because there was all kinds of flammable stuff in the garage. Initially, they called him something stupid like a shadow, but then they renamed him Clark after Superman, lol. He was a really nice cat and lived to be pretty old. That one wasn't as creepy as I thought it was going to be, but we're going to keep going. Boom, here goes another one. Story number 2. First Christmas after my grandpa died, I was 17 and still very confused on how to handle the shit show of emotions I was having. Christmas morning, I was sitting on the floor with my brother, opening presents when he noticed 2 cards tucked in the tree. I opened the one with my name on it, and it was in my grandpa's handwriting. All it said was, "Love you, Peanut," which was his nickname for me. He had passed in August and had never given me a card for Christmas in my life. My mom refused to acknowledge this happened, but my brother remembers it as well. Up until about 9 years ago, there was a picture of me holding the card, but when I finally dealt with the grief, I shoved it down, the picture vanished. Okay. Kinda spooky, not really. Story number 3. It was Christmas Eve and I was 14. We had a lot of snow, but I wanted to ride my horse, so I went to the stables and saddled him up. I always tied him to my parents' porch when I rode up to the house. The stables were about a mile away, but I was used to the walk up and back. I was getting ready to take him back when one of my friends came walking up and I gave her a ride to her house. On my way back, my horse wanted to run, so I let him. We came upon my friend's sister and I was going to give her a ride home, but my horse wouldn't stop. I laughed and said sorry and figured he'd stop when he got to the house, but he didn't. He went straight down the driveway and out into the road. I started to get scared, so I was pulling at the reins pretty hard to the point I was standing and using all my strength, and he didn't even slow down. I could see cars going through the crossroads. He was galloping full bore with no intention of stopping. He tried to jump a brand new Ford LTD. Back then, cars were boats. He hit it chest high and I was tossed down the road. He did a perfect somersault and slid on his rump past the intersection. I was wearing a thick coat and 2 pairs of jeans, so no road rash for me. I landed on my left wrist and crushed it, but I survived. The horse had road rash on his rump, but was fine other than that. A policeman was parked at the intersection and saw the whole thing. He couldn't get a hold of the ambulance service because they were out to lunch, so he drove me over to the ambulance driver's house, and I sat in their living room with their kids side-eyeing me and waiting for me to come back after finishing their lunch. Yeah, nothing paranormal, but an interesting Christmas story. Okay, that wasn't too scary, but we're gonna read one more just because that second one was kind of short, and none of these are scary enough for me, but there are Christmas stories, so hey, we're trying. Okay, this one is a good one. Story number 4. During the 80s, the family had a Christmas party which ended late in the wee hours of the morning. My mom with her cousin were taking the trash outside before they sleep and saw that their neighbor across the house was sitting by the gutters and smiling at them. She waved hi and the girl smiled and waved back. Then her cousin shook her and said, "That's not neighbor's name." She then realized that their neighbor had shoulder-length hair, and this girl in front of them had long, ankle-length hair and is wearing a long white sleeping gown. They both started screaming and ran back inside the house. The next morning, they learned that their neighbors were not home, spending Christmas in the province. Not sure if it was really a ghost, but here in the Philippines, it would be so uncomfortable wearing a long sleeping gown since we're in a tropical country. Now that one was a little spooky, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, so we're gonna read another one. 5 stories today, y'all. 5. Story number 5. I remember one Christmas Eve night when I was 8 or 9, and me and my family went to bed after meeting with relatives. I was laying in my bed just anxious for the next morning and able to sleep. I closed my eyes and tried to sleep, but couldn't. This wasn't unusual for me, as I normally couldn't sleep well as a kid, still having some sleeping problems today. So I just lay there until I get tired or the sun came up. Well, after a while, a loud scraping sound came from my roof. It sounded like someone dragging a long piece of something hard all the way across from one side of the house to the other. I woke up and went to tell my parents. When I went in their room, they both got up because I was loud, because I was scared. They said they didn't hear anything and told me to go to bed. The next day, there was debris from the roof in our yard. Still to this day, I never know what went across our roof. And someone said Santa. That would be scary though, like in real life. Santa is actually really a scary thing. Like going down a chimney? What if you don't have a chimney? How does he get in? I don't know. I don't know about that one, y'all. But yeah, 5 Christmassy kind of spooky stories. I hope you guys enjoy this. I intend to read more stories because it's just really fun to like hear people's stories and then share it with you guys and also give my opinions. So make sure you guys like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.